that can really motivate and inspire others, someone that can consistently pick people up and make them feel good about themselves, yet also know how to drive accountability, right? You can't just have a team leader that's a cheerleader and that's just always, speaking so positively. You have to have the accountability side as well, but you want to make sure that people see the fellowship, right? They want to work for this person, work with this person, support this person, and so forth. And so it's so much about the motivation side of things and the praise, but then also holding the team accountable. They're excited to come to work each and every day. They're excited about the conversations that they're having. And that excitement and that passion will make them want to do more. And their colleagues and their peers around them will want to do more as well. So I think the more that people are excited and motivated, the more results you're going to get out of them.
Welcome to the True Leadership Podcast, where we sit down with executive leaders to explore what leadership really means through the lens of their stories, their wins, their struggles, their vision, and their lessons along the way. I'm Ty Hammond, founder of One Mountain Leadership and creator of the True Leadership Approach, an awareness-based path that helps leaders shift their focus from what to do about their problems to how to grow from them. Whether you're just stepping into leadership or are well-seasoned and at the top of your game, your potential won't be realized following someone else's script, but you can draw insights from their stories and turn it into wisdom by putting it into practice in your own life.
Welcome to the True Leadership Podcast, where we explore the essence of leadership beyond tactics and performance by sitting down with executives to hear what matters most to them. I'm your host, Jessy James, and today's guest is Michelle Carter. Michelle is Executive Vice President of Service Business Development North America at Mastercard, where she leads a team of more than 200 professionals. With over 2 decades of experience in technology and payments, Michelle has built and scaled global sales and customer success organizations serving financial services, fintech, retail, travel, and public sector clients. Known for her strategic clarity and people-first leadership, she specializes in aligning innovation data and AI-driven services to customer outcomes, helping organizations grow responsibly while delivering measurable impact at scale. Michelle, it is such a pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you so much, Jessy. Pleasure to be here with you. I'm looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Michelle, I'm curious, who is someone from your early life or even an early experience that shaped the leader that you are today?
Yeah, so early on in my career, I had a lot of ownership and was given a lot of trust as I was looking after the CPG, so consumer packaged goods vertical, from a BD, business development perspective for a SaaS product, and was regularly speaking to C-level executives. And having this type of responsibility early on really enabled me to see how, regardless of your experience or tenure, people can still bring a lot to the table, even if the respective levels of seniority aren't matched. And I've really continued to lead teams thinking that way today, right? You might have somebody that's going into a very senior customer conversation, and they may not have the number of years of experience as that individual, yet they still have a lot of wisdom that they can bring to the conversation. And so that really has helped kind of, as I've, continued to scale and lead teams, think through how people can, really drive the most enjoyment from their options and engagements that they're given, as well as helping us scale as fast as we can.
Got it. What does true leadership mean to you? Like, what makes a true leader from your perspective?
So someone that can really motivate and inspire others, someone that can consistently pick people up and make them feel good about themselves, yet also know how to drive accountability throughout the team, right? You can't just have a team leader that's a cheerleader and that's just always, speaking so positively. You have to have the accountability side as well, but you want to make sure that people see the fellowship, right? They want to work for this person, work with this person, support this person, and so forth. And so it's so much about the motivation side of things and the praise, but then also holding the team accountable.
And what difference does that make? I mean, why does it matter?
At the end of the day, what we're hoping for, right, is that you have a team of individuals that are really excited about their day, right? They're excited to come to work each and every day. They're excited about the conversations that they're having. And that excitement and that passion will make them want to do more, right? Not only they will want to do more, but then their colleagues and their peers around them will want to do more as well, because that positivity will, kind of breathe over to everybody, right? And it's contagious. So I think the more that people are excited and motivated, the more results you're going to get out of them. But then again, making sure people understand, what the goals are that they have to get to.
Got it. Can you share a time when you realized that your way of leading or living no longer met the demands of your work and life and growth was needed?
Yeah. So, I think there are a lot of different, experiences I can speak to, but I think the biggest kind of theme is how if you work to do things manually, you can often get them done more quickly, right? If you have a manual task that can be performed, you can get it done more quickly. That said, it's not how you scale. And so while the short term changing over to things and getting them automated might take longer to get a certain task accomplished, long term, it's much more beneficial. So I found myself several years ago doing a number of things, more manually and realizing that, look, if I just take a step back, I can put some processes in place that will help scale and automate and get us to move faster, right? It's a business that's moving in a million different directions every single day. And so it's important to be able to do that. But often we don't want to, take a step back and breathe and think through how can we automate because we're worried about slowing down our day to day.
Yeah. And what did that mean for you in terms of making that shift from manual to automation, from your own leadership perspective, both personally and also the way you impact? What did that mean for you?
Yeah, so for me in particular, it really enabled me to see the scale in play, right? And so being able to truly understand how we're able to move much faster and get to an answer much more quickly was a better way. A lot of what we were doing was around forecasting, because obviously we have to have, being in sales roles, we need our forecasts to be correct and accurate. And so being able to put in some more automated processes to be able to see exactly where we were potentially going to come in under or over and be able to adjust really enabled us to just move faster and get to the right answer, with more ease.
And I'm curious, Michelle, for you personally as a leader, what did you have to outgrow or let go in order to kind of, grow beyond that manual orientation to get more automated?
Yeah, so I think the biggest investment that we can all continue to do is to consistently look inward and be as self-reflective as possible. I'm a huge proponent of self-advocacy. And so while we're all our own best self-advocates, it's also really important to make sure that we are looking through, flaws and improvement areas, right? We don't do ourselves any justice by not recognizing areas of improvement. And so I found that, getting more kind of focused and granular about, improvement, whether it's through looking at, for feedback from others, getting involved in more external organizations. I've gotten involved in a number of external organizations, and I think you learn a lot about yourself through that as well. But self-reflection, I think, is one of the most important things that we can all do to grow.
Fascinating. Thinking about your journey over the past few years, what's been the most valuable investment that you've made in yourself for your own growth?
Yeah, so I think, there's, again, one of those things, these are all great questions, right? There's so much to point to. But I think surrounding yourselves with people that have differing opinions from you and have differing experiences from you is so important, right? As I look at, my leadership team today, it's a variety of different backgrounds, people that have, worked at Mastercard for a number of different years. We have people that someone who just came in who had left Mastercard for a while and now is back in, right? So he went and worked in industry and now came back and obviously can provide a lot of new information and infusion into our team. But I think that the biggest thing you can do is consistently make sure that you're not just developing this homogeneous population that thinks alike, right? The whole group think. I'm a psychology major from, way back when. And group think is really not so effective when it comes to leadership and, driving a big team forward because everyone's just sort of going in the same direction versus having opinions that may differ. And so I think I've been really focused on continually trying to, move my team forward by bringing in a number of different perspectives and expanding, everyone's mind when they think about different ways and directions to go in.
And what's your vision for your leadership, your legacy, or the impact that you want to have in the years ahead?
So I talked about motivational, right? So I think that's sort of the first element when I think about my own leadership is how I can drive motivation throughout the team. I'm a big proponent of gamification. So, constantly ensuring that teams understand, what's that leaderboard that I want to get on and have the biggest deal or the most important, key area that's associated with that deal and all that kind of camaraderie, so to speak. So that would be one. Collaborative would be another. I work at a 40,000 person organization. Mastercard is not a small organization by any means, and we have to work and need to work to get as much success as possible across many different teams, right? And any given day, I'm working with account management, with product, with legal, with client services, and so again, that strong collaboration is such a important pillar. Mm-hmm. And then I would say transformational. So continually thinking through what's that next big idea that can move our business in a different direction to be able to get to the key growth areas and growth rates that we need to year after year. So I would say motivational, collaborative, and transformational.
And what are the ways that you need to grow personally in order to realize that vision?
So, a lot of it is looking inward constantly, right? And making sure that I feel that I'm growing. I think the best leaders compare themselves to where they were 6 months ago, 12 months ago, et cetera, right? The second that someone starts taking a look at and comparing themselves to somebody else, whether it's a business partner or competition or what have you, that gets you down a road that you don't want to get down, right? But if you're constantly thinking through how have I improved over the past 6 months or a year, I think that's really where you start to see growth in areas of opportunity.
And this last question, where do you feel most tested right now? Like what challenges are stretching you the most in both leadership and in life?
Yeah, so our business moves at lightning speed. We're constantly trying to manage the tactical versus the strategic, and how do you invest in one, but yet still invest in the other, right? And so I need to drive my team to meet key monthly revenue goals, yet at the same time, think through how are we best set up to grow over the next 5 years? How can we lean more into AI to help drive account prioritization and outreach and intelligence gathering, et cetera, right? So I would say the biggest area that I'm consistently tested in is really thinking through the tactical needs and how to spend time there, but also not giving up on the strategic and vice versa.
So this last question is more of an invitation. You have this time and space to offer to our listeners whatever it is that is top of the mind for you and topmost in your heart. Anything at all, take your time. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. I like this opportunity a lot. So I feel very strongly that career enjoyment is incredibly important. We spend such a large percentage of our adult lives working. And so it's really key that we all drive enjoyment and satisfaction from that portion of your time. Too many people are stuck in work situations that don't propel them forward and add to their positive outlook on life. And so if you aren't doing something that you enjoy, my advice to all of you out there is please look elsewhere and see how you can pivot. Regardless of how many years you are into a job or a career, you can always look to pivot. It's never too late. I've personally found a tremendous amount of satisfaction and enjoyment through my career at Mastercard and always being in customer-facing roles. And that enjoyment helps contribute positively to my overall affect versus the opposite. So, if I had to sort of summarize in 3 words, find your passion. Feel really, confident that you can find something that you're excited about, and that will really change your overall, affect and, excitement about life. And so, yeah, that would be my advice or guidance for folks.
Michelle, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I learned so much from your wisdom and your experience, and I'm sure whoever's listening will benefit equally from what you've shared. So thank you once again for coming on the True Leadership Podcast. What a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jessy. Really appreciate it, and lots of really great, thoughtful questions.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode of the True Leadership Podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this to catch future episodes. This conversation was brought to you by One Mountain Leadership, where we help leaders grow the capacity, confidence, and presence of true leadership through the True Leadership approach. To learn more about the approach, our offerings, our community, and how we can help you realize your potential in both leadership and in life, visit us at onemountainleadership.com.